All right, folks, welcome back. I want to give you my 2 cents on this whole situation with Silicon Valley Bank.
If this bank, which was a very good one, made such a mistake,
The regulators really need to act fast in order to contain this, to stave off any kind of fears that it will happen to other banks.
And what I've learned over the last week, based on a shit ton of research I've done, man, this is very complex. It has a lot of tentacles. So I wanted to distill it down to this one thing that I learned. Because it can get very complicated. And the one thing I learned is basically how banks and institutions can be and are incorrectly valuating the assets on their balance sheets. So actually how much those assets are worth. And this is actually a problem that dates back to at least 2008, if not prior to that. This was a problem during the global financial crisis. Much of what was in the news at that time was about subprime mortgages. This too was a problem. Some folks did try to fix it. However, it kind of got papered over, I'll say, within the regulations, within the accounting practices. The problem that exists is the failure of banks to use mark to market, which is a fancy way of saying today's value of that asset. They're failing to use mark to market as the accounting standard for some of the assets on their balance sheet. And so the problem that exists as a result is it obscures which banks and which institutions are healthy and which are very sick. So let's use the example of a car. Say you purchased a car 5 years ago for $40,000. If you were going to put that on your balance sheet, on your personal financial statement, maybe you purchased a car 5 years ago for $40,000, but today it might only be worth $20,000. So you would put $20,000 as the fair market value for that car. Banks and institutions do the same thing. They have their personal financial statement that they do every year, but in their case, it becomes a little bit more difficult because they too have real estate and vehicles and stocks and bonds and cash in their vault and all sorts of things. But let's take a look at stocks because that becomes the tricky one and is one thing that has caught up to Silicon Valley Bank. A bank or an institution purchased 2 years ago a stock during its IPO phase for $25. How do they value it today? Well, unfortunately, many banks, institutions are putting the value as $25 per share on their balance sheet today. The problem is the value is actually 2 years later, much, much less than their original purchase price. We all know that the stock market has come down, and in some cases, some stocks have come down by as much as 80 or 90%. So that stock that they purchased for $25 2 years ago during the IPO phase might actually only be worth $7 or $8, but they're listing it as $25 on their balance sheet. So you can see how this obscures which banks are actually sick and which banks are actually healthy. So you can see how this makes it very difficult for us to see who's healthy and who's sick in the banking and financial institution. That's one of the many things I learned, but I just wanted to share in this short video just that one aspect of what's going wrong out there today. I hope this helped. If it did, please hit the like button below so we can get this out to many, many more people. If you're not subscribed, we always appreciate new subscribers. Hit that subscribe button. We appreciate it. Thank you.